Yes, sir. Detroit, we in the building. Born and raised in Detroit, so it's glad to see my city doing so good. Also, shout out to University of Michigan. Go Blue. Now it's time to get on the board. Go Blue, you know what time it is. You know what time it is. J-E-T-S. The Carolina Panthers have traded the 65th pick to the New York Jets. With the 65th pick in the 2024 draft, the New York Jets select Malachi Corley, wide receiver out of Western Kentucky. Let's go, Jets.
He's top 50 player. He's compact. There's a lot of quick hitters, and that's not my opinion with the Yak King. That is his actual Twitter bio. He references himself as the Yak King, and he is exceptional after the catch. You want production? Listen to this numbers. Over the last 2 years, he only trails Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison Jr. in terms of receiving yards. That's good company to keep. And here he is after the catch. He does not want to go on the ground. He's like I would say a sawed-off Deebo Samuel. He's a smaller, more compact version, but his strength on contact when guys try and tackle him is pretty ridiculous, CD.
It certainly is, and he catches a lot of his passes underneath.
5.5 average depth of target.
And so then takes it long. Throw short, go long. Joel, one of the things I liked about him, he reminded me of Golden Tate. Yes, he's a sawed-off Deebo Samuel in physique and stature, but in playing style, Golden Tate every year, yards after the catch, near the top of the leaderboard.
Here's what Aaron Rodgers is reacting to is the creativeness that you can have now from a play design perspective, because he can stretch the field by holding defenders at the line of scrimmage because of what you can do in the screen game, throwing it to him in those advantage throws, meaning, hey, the ratios are there. You don't have to run the ball. You can just flip it out into the slot, and he can get that yak you were talking about.
Think about Randall Cobb in his prime, how Aaron Rodgers used him. This is a carbon copy.
With the 66th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Trey Benson, running back, Florida State.
So the third round with pick 2 leads to only the third running back taken in this draft. Second running back taken, pardon me, in this draft.
And I do believe we're going to see a bunch of these guys end up coming off the board before we get done tonight. Trey Benson, height, weight, speed, very explosive. There's some big hitter home run plays with him, especially in this Virginia Tech game where he absolutely went off. It was kind of odd. He only had one 100-yard game. It was actually that 200-yard game. But with the opportunities he was given, you see the explosiveness. It shows up in his yards per carry. There's also the physicality there. There's elements of Breece Hall to some of the things you see in his game, including after the catch, that burst once he gets out into the open field for a bigger back, CD.
I'm glad you teed it up that way because my comp for him,
what you got?
Breece Hall.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go. So I'm thinking along with you. So when you take a look at Trey Benson, the things that Daniel was talking about with him, being able to make those home run hitting type of plays, as well as beat you up at the line of scrimmage running inside if necessary. But there's that burst. There's that juice when the hole opens. No hesitation. Right into it. And he gets into the end zone against Pitt. Look at what Breece Hall did. This was Breece Hall's first year. Boom. Off he goes. Taking off and maneuvering and going. And if he's going to hit top speed again this year, talk about Breece Hall, Joel, because the knee's going to be okay. But the way the Cardinals want to play with Drew Petzing as their offensive coordinator, they actually ran San Francisco into a lot of question marks going into the playoffs. In a late season game at Arizona, James Conner did damage that day. He'll be able to pair with Trey Benson now and try and work some of those deep.
With the 67th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Brandon Coleman, tackle, TCU.
Well, they got their tackle. Brandon Coleman, some view him as a guard, some view him as a tackle. Played left tackle there at TCU. Got to believe he's going to have an opportunity to play some tackle here for the Washington Commanders. Very strong hands. When he latches, he finishes you. He can latch and drive. Here he is at left tackle again. Once those hands land, he's in excellent position. Inline blocking. Think about Steve Avila, the transition he made from TCU to the Rams and how good he was. Similar strength and power here with Brandon Coleman. So they were desperate to get one, and they got one here from TCU.
With the 68th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft,
the New England Patriots select
Calen Wallace.
He is a tackle out of Penn State. So the Jets took a tackle out of Penn State. Now the Patriots have followed suit.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about these young quarterbacks, trying to give them some weapons and then also trying to give them some protection. He started 40 games at right tackle. He's got a real big lower half. He can create some drive in the run game, more stalemate and wrestle you in pass protection. The balance was an issue at times, Joel, and there were times where speed gave him some trouble off of the edge.
It was an offense that underperformed at Penn State. There's just no doubt about it. They have too much talent, quarterback, running back, some of their outside players, Olu Fashanu on the other side. Payton Wallace is a guy that they wanted more from during the course of the last couple of years. Now, his study habits and dedication increased dramatically this season. There for James Franklin, the head coach, and I thought his best tape was at the end of this last season, clearly helping him towards this draft process.
Jim Harbaugh got one of his boys.
Here we
With
go.
the 69th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Junior Coulson, linebacker, Michigan.
So
Go Chargers!
Can't quit Junior Coulson. He got himself a Wolverine.
He got himself a darn good player and a tremendous value. I am as a 43rd player in the draft. Here we are. He comes off the board at pick number 69. I believed he'd be long gone at this point in time. One of the top linebackers in the entire draft class. Instinctive, physical. You'll remember David Harris, Rich, from his time at Michigan as well as with the Jets. Was an awesome player both at the collegiate level and at the NFL level. This is a downhill guy. In an era where we have run and hit linebackers who are a little undersized and a little more finesse, this dude likes to bang inside. He will attack the line of scrimmage as well as have that lateral range. He was beat up this year, played through injuries, but still found a way to lead this defense and make a lot of plays, not only against the run, but also in coverage. He got himself a Michigan man, Joel, and he got himself a leader in the middle of this defense.
Yeah, played with a club on his hand, and played right through it. This guy is tough, there's no doubt. That's part of his upbringing. This guy was orphaned as a kid and ended up being adopted after the earthquake in Haiti in 2010, came to the States when he was 9 years old. That's when he was introduced to organized sports, specifically football, and it gave him just an entirely new perspective of what was going on. I remember Mike Macdonald 3 years ago, before I had even laid eyes on Junior Coulson. Mike Macdonald was the defensive coordinator, now the head coach for the Seattle Seahawks. Mike Macdonald, I'm asking him, who's your best players? I'm thinking he's going to talk about Aiden Hutchinson a lot. That's this year. He goes, I think the best one is my middle linebacker, the young kid, Junior Coulson. You got to be ready for him. He's going to be great.
And what's interesting is when a head coach goes to a team, he often brings guys that know him, but it's usually experienced guys, right? Because they can speak shorthand about what the head coach wants, how he wants you to act in the locker room, and they can spread it to their teammates. In this case, he's bringing a guy with him from Michigan who can spread the word through that locker room. Let me tell you what Coach Harbaugh wants and will demand out of you, and they'll be listening to a rookie as he educates them on their new head coach.
Real quick, Rich, also just the familiarity with his defensive coordinator coming along with Jim Harbaugh.
Jesse Minter.
I think he'll wear the green dot. He can be the communicator on this defense as a rookie.
There's no doubt.
How about that? Not many rookies wear the green dot.
With the 6th pick, the 70th pick overall, in the 3rd round of the 2024 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select cornerback Andrew Phillips, University of Kentucky. Good luck, Andrew.
It's been a good night for corners, and it's also been a good night for players with the versatility to play outside or inside. I don't use that word lightly, CD, when I write down Warrior with the way he plays. He is intense, he is aggressive, and he is physical. It shows up with how physical he is at the line of scrimmage, as well as how physical he is down the field. I thought he was the best available corner on the board at this point in time in the draft, and I love the value they got. I believe nickel is his absolute best spot.
Yeah, and watch this. Remember, who was the young guy? We had Will McDonald from Iowa State. Remember that a couple years ago? Will used to like to run and jump over cars. We have our next guy, Andrew Phillips. Look at that. And you go back into his backstory. They say he was one of those focused kids right from the word go.
Yep.
Football, football, football. His parents wanted him to be well-rounded, try a lot of different things. All he wanted to do was gravitate back towards football, and he's gotten it done. Another one of Jeremy Lincoln's proteges, former NFL cornerback in terms of tutoring him. Joel, this kid locks in and plays.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you, every time you turn on tape, your eyes go to him.
In this draft.
With the 71st pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Isaiah Adams, guard, University of Illinois.
Yeah, Isaiah Adams, 25 starts. He's played guard. He's also played right tackle. He has some power in the run game. You'll see him move people, particularly on down blocks. You'll see him able to uproot you and move you. In pass protection, I thought there were some issues where he sets a little too deep at times. He struggled out there at right tackle in the Penn State game. But playing inside, I think you cover him up. He's more comfortable in there, and that's where his future lies, Joel.
Long road to this point. Started out in Ontario in college football, then went to a community college, Garden City Community College, then Illinois. Started every game the last couple of years, worked himself into a team captain. This guy can play.
And with the 72nd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Trevon Wallace, linebacker, Kentucky. Let's go, Panther Nation.
Yeah, we haven't seen many linebackers. You just referenced the running backs. That's only the third linebacker, off-the-ball linebacker to get picked so far. Trevon Wallace, very explosive. You'll see that represented in the numbers with that 37.5-inch vertical. Downhill run stuffer. The lateral quickness to be able to beat blocks with your feet. He has that physicality up top to take on blocks, but more often than not, he's going to use his speed to beat those blocks that way. Big time closing speed when he's able to get in the backfield. Again, we mentioned it earlier, Charles, backers on backs equals sacks. There's another example of it right there, of his ability just to overwhelm guys in the backfield.
And a little bit of Trenton Simpson coming out last year out of Clemson. That type of speed, get you upfield, go beat blocks and go make plays for him. Another part of that Kentucky renaissance. And he goes to a place in Carolina where we're always talking about taking care of Bryce Young, the quarterback, Joel. But defense is a big deal for Carolina. They've been pretty good on defense for a while, trying to beat things up. Shaq Thompson's been there a long time. Trevon Wallace gets to move in behind him and learn how to play.
I love his range and athleticism, and just in all levels of football, you've got to be a hybrid player as a linebacker and stay on the field on third down. I think he can do that.
With the 73rd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Cooper Beebe, guard, Kansas State.
Well, they continue to address that offensive line. Remember, Tyler Guyton there in the first round. We thought maybe they would take Graham Barton. They ended up getting back out, trading back, end up getting a tackle. They come back and get an interior offensive lineman here in Cooper Beebe. This is a classic example, Joel, will say in scouting, bad body, good player. So when you look at him and you say, okay, gosh, is this guy going to be any good? How athletic is he? Well, he is. He can really move his feet. He plays extremely hard. If his arms were a little bit longer, he would have already been picked because the tape is really solid.
I mean, unnecessary shot here, but we call that a major Applewhite. I mean, sorry. I mean, that's just kind of what it is, right? Good, bad body, good player. Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year the last 2 seasons. Only guy to do that, or the last, I guess I should say, guy you mentioned earlier, Creed Humphrey from Oklahoma.
If you remember Dallas trading down in the first round last night, they got a third-round pick, and they just cashed it in for Cooper Beebe. Ian?
With the 74th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Bralen Trice, linebacker, Washington.
A lot of Washington Huskies coming off the board over 2 days. Very productive. He's a power rusher off the edge. You see the size there at 245 pounds. He plays much bigger than that. He's going to test you. He's going to get his hands right inside. He's going to try and pry open that inside shoulder. That's his go-to move. Not super explosive and twitchy in terms of just dynamic athleticism, but what he is strong as an ox. And that upper body power, it worked quite well for that Husky front.
I don't think this is what the Atlanta Falcons fans thought when they heard edge going into this draft, Joel. But he's a good football player who plays better than his testing at the combine.
Enforcer of that team.
With the 75th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Kiran Amegadje, tackle out of Yale.
Yeah, you could say it's a smart pick there out of Yale.
Let's get it.
This is someone that's a little bit of a project, but you've got a lot to work with here when you look at the size and the length that he possesses. His wingspan's 85.5 inches, 36.5-inch arms, so he is a massive human being. I wrote down in my notes when I watched him, he's playing against a lot of civilians. When you watch him, these are a lot of undersized players.
Civilians.
A lot of civilians are soon going to be Fortune 500 civilians.
Yes, we're going to all be working for them. But so it's a little bit difficult to evaluate the video. This is going to require patience. It's going to require time. They have tackles already here. I talked about being able to upgrade over Braxton Jones if they were to take one in the first round. This, to me, is more about a project in the future. Braxton Jones is going to be their left tackle with Darnell Wright on the right side.
And you mentioned the project part. Missed a lot of time COVID year. Missed a lot of time last year with an injury. Didn't participate in the run-up to the draft because he was working through that injury. But he's long, he's twitchy, he has those sort of traits. I talked with a coach in the Ivy League who said this guy was a talent. Thought he was in 2022. Looks for him to be out there now. And by the way, the Bears have a little tradition with Yale. Mike Powell was a center for them in the 60s, and their former head coach, one Dick Duran.
With the 76th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the three-time Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos select Jonah Ellis, linebacker, Utah. You're going to love it, brother.
First of all, I think I saw Kyle Brandt wearing that jacket last night in the lobby. But side note, Jonah Ellis, ultra productive, 12 sacks. They use him in a variety of ways. He'll play with his hand on the ground as a rusher. They'll also stand him up on the edge. They'll even let him kick inside and rush some as a 3 technique. Very stout, very physical, only 248 pounds, but again, plays real heavy-handed on the edge, and he's an instinctive rusher. Not going to wow you with speed, not going to wow you with these impressive moves. He's just got a really good feel. So the issue also with him, I should add, there's shoulder injuries there, and that was why some teams weren't as comfortable with him. He's very hard to stack in this year's draft class because of that. Some teams are more concerned than others, but the production, the effort, all that stuff, excellent.
DPR, right? Initially, and Schrags, he's going to the team that his father Luther finished with. Longtime Detroit Lion, finished with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, his dad Luther obviously played 10 years with the Lions, finished with the Broncos. Here's another one. Sean Payton drafted his brother Caden when they were at the New Orleans Saints, so he knows that family well. They looked long and hard in the first round. They went Bo Nix at the pass rushers at the top. They feel very comfortable with the pass rushing here. But you're right, Charles, bloodlines here. Coached against his dad and then drafted his brother, Caden. So very cool to see Jonah Ellis end up in Denver with Sean Payton.
And he's already the twitchiest edge rusher on the Broncos roster. The rest of the guys not quite as twitchy as Jonah.
Oh boy.
Okay, now with the 77th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Delmar Glaze, tackle, Maryland.
Yeah, this is an offensive line that needs some upgrades, especially on that right side. Colton Miller, he's going to man the left tackle. I would imagine Delmar Glaze will get an opportunity either at guard or at right tackle. Played left tackle there in college at Maryland, played under control, thought he had quick feet, got in trouble at times by oversetting. I thought of the positions between tackle and guard, I thought he'd be better served to kick inside and play guard.
Yeah, because he's more powerful in a phone booth. It's his lateral movement that can get him in trouble. But in a phone booth, I thought he was productive at times. Lightly recruited out of high school, but did play well at Maryland over the last couple of years.
Giving new meaning to fighting through Glaze in Las Vegas.
The Philadelphia Eagles have traded the 78th pick to the Houston Texans. With the 78th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Calen Bullock, defensive back, USC.
Interesting they announced him as a defensive back because he played safety, that free safety role for USC. Some teams believe he could hold up outside at corner, could be a press man corner. The comparison for me was Marcus Williams because of that range. He makes some ridiculous plays from the middle of the field, as you see right here. High point the football all the way over on the sideline. I saw this kid play in high school. If you thought he looks like a freak on this field, you should see him against a bunch of small private school kids that I saw him against. But big time athleticism. My buddy Bucky Brooks likes to talk about guys who can be the ornament on top of the Christmas tree, the star up there. He can play up there as that high safety. Tackling was an issue at times, not because he wasn't willing, just because he didn't have enough sand, and every now and then he'd take one for the team and take a charge.
I mean, some would say it was because of the jersey, right? Because they were allergic to tackling as a defense the last couple of years, and I believe it was their lack of production as a defense that actually hurt him. If you go back a couple of years, he was projecting towards more of a higher round, maybe top 2 round, maybe even a first-round draft pick, but because that defense struggled so mightily over the last couple of years, I feel like his stock was hit.
The Arizona Cardinals have traded the 79th pick to the Indianapolis Colts. With the 79th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Matt Goncalves, tackle, Pittsburgh.
This was an interesting day today with all these tackles because we've seen some of the project guys, the upside, the long-term players go ahead of guys like this who I feel like's more ready to play. He's got quick feet. He can uproot defenders. The balance was just the only knock on him. A little bit inconsistent when it comes to that balance. But of a bunch of these tackles we've seen come off the board today, I think he's more ready to get on the field, CD, and be able to help his team.
And really, I thought that Kansas City might want to consider him as well. I remember they went Sua Matea, which makes sense for him. But as you talk about a guy who has that type of experience, able to get out there and go right now, but, you know, obviously everybody has their different terms and what they want to do in using him. But I think this is really nice for Indianapolis. Joel, they've been trying to solve that left tackle spot ever since Anthony Costanzo retired. Never went to a Pro Bowl, never made All-Pro, but he answered the bell all the time for 10-plus years.
Easier projection because they were in a more pro-style, prototypical style offense at Pitt. You know, he wasn't in the RPO. It's sometimes hard to rate these offensive tackles, guys, as you know, when they're constantly in this middle zone of an RPO every single play in college football.
But you know what else he's going to have to do? Get used to your quarterback being in different spots multiple times on the same play with Anthony Richardson back there now.
So this pick means something to me, as I've been training this kid for a long time, and now he's going to be drafted by the Bengals. So with the 80th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Jermaine Burton, wide receiver, Alabama.
Yeah, Jermaine Burton. Think back now. TJ Houshmandzadeh also trained T. Higgins during the run-up to that draft, and the Bengals listened to him. So he might need to be on the scouting staff there for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's got a voice. There's a lot of talent with Jermaine Burton. Big burst. He can track the ball really well. The Georgia transfer, the knock on him, and one of the reasons, quite honestly, why he's available right now is because there were some questions about maturity and just needed to grow up a little bit. I think TJ Houshmandzadeh has helped him in that department. But in terms of having that juice, that second gear when the ball's in the air, he has that. The speed is real. The effort is there. You see that on an interception. You see him chase it down. He loves football. Just a process. Some of these guys are young. You just got to grow up a little bit, and I think he's in the process of doing that.
With the 81st pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Christian Haynes, guard from UConn.
Good player who's played a lot of ball. 49 starts. I believe he's ready to play right away once he gets to the NFL. He's got an enormous lower body, plays with excellent awareness and under control. You watch him here getting up to the second level. Again, any of those three interior spots, he's going to be able to plug in. We saw that at the Senior Bowl when he got a chance to be around him. Here he is again, getting up to that second level. Watch the angle, able to turn, get his feet positioned and control the block. Here he is as a puller, under control, gathers himself, able to clear out the hole on that linebacker. Pass pro awareness. Again, the intelligence shows up, and he gets a decleater right there, seeing that one. CD, we were down there for this one. I thought he really helped himself down there in Mobile with his work.
Frustrated Jordan Jefferson a little bit. Took a helmet off and let it go. But Joel, when you watch him, I see Nate Davis, who's now with the Chicago Bears. Different type of a body, different type of a stance, but going to battle you all day long. You want to deal with him, pack a lunch, and maybe a snack.
What I love, guys, is that we constantly come up with these picks and we'll be like, well, you know, there was questions about this or that and didn't do well in the interviews. That is not Christian Haynes. As Jim Mora, his head coach, said, he is a great human being and a program-first guy for UConn.
With the 82nd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Tip Reiman, tight end, Illinois.
All right, this is your guy, Peter Schrager. Go for it.
This is my favorite player in the NFL Draft. I said before the Combine, Whichever team drafts Tip Reiman will win the Super Bowl this year. So Arizona Cardinals are going to the bowl and they're winning. It's my favorite player, one of the best personalities in this draft, and just an absolute physical beast. Didn't have the catches, didn't have the stats. Academic All-American. What I love the most is I speak to teams at the Combine. They're like, this guy was incredible in the interviews. He famously said that he does not believe in birds. Okay, well, he's going to the Cardinals, which will make it very complicated.
Yes, it will.
But he is an incredible athlete, and when he's in those interview processes, he said, look, I will play tight end, I will play fullback, I will play H-back, I will play special teams. Put me anywhere, I just want to play a role. Tip Reiman, my favorite player at the Combine and my favorite player in this draft, and now the Tip Reiman section of the program is over. Guys, take it away.
There you go. Very good.
I just want to know, can he play left tackle?
He's headed that way.
Big man, and I'm telling you, with that footwork and the ability to move things. When we watched him at the Combine, you guys remember all the tight ends having to block against the sled? Ordinarily, what happens is you block it, and then they rise it up. What you're trying to do is flat back it and move it along the ground. Tip Reiman was one of the few guys that moved it along the ground. His technique was flawless.
And with the 83rd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the two-time Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams select
Blake Corum.
Yes! Les Snead, you are a genius. You are hitting the jackpot. You too, Sean McVay. You betcha. You have a winner coming to Los Angeles, and all I have to say is hello, neighbor, right across the street. Whatever you need from NFL Network, I got you covered. What a superb choice. And this Rams offense is going to love him. Los Angeles is going to love him. He is going to light it up in the NFC West. I give you the rest.
I knew he was going to Los Angeles, Rich. I just didn't know which team. Vision and balance there for Blake Corum. That's his calling card. Instinctive runner. These sharp cuts, the change of direction. He found his way into the paint a zillion times there for the Wolverines. In the hole, one-on-one. This is Jack Campbell on this one. Gets his feet to stop. Doesn't even get a hand on him. He's able to make him miss. You want to throw him the ball out of the backfield? You know that's going to happen with the Rams, with Matthew Stafford. He's going to be able to complement Kyren Williams there in that backfield. Again, another example, Joel, of that vision. Running back, look, some people say, give me the biggest, fastest, toughest guy. If you have no vision, none of that matters. He's got unbelievable vision, balance, and feel.
He would just make the defensive front pay. A lot of those concepts are kind of duo, his choice, where he wants to go in the gap. And he would constantly choose the right hole because someone would jump outside of their gap. He did it against Penn State. He did it against Ohio State. He did it against Alabama. The guy just produced. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. Blake Corum, just as a person, is easily top 2 or 3 college football players I've ever had the pleasure to cover. He constantly has a smile on his face, and he constantly takes care of people around him. The turkey drive right here, you guys know it, right here in Detroit and around Ann Arbor, giving away 300, 500 frozen turkeys Thanksgiving week. The day before he plays Ohio State. That's the type of guy he is. One of my favorite all time.
And he's been a pro. Perfect. Rich, he's been a pro since he's been a young kid.
Already has the maze. Well. Just a different shade of blue. Fantastic. Here's the Steelers.
With the 84th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Roman Wilson, wide receiver,
Wolverine-a-palooza! Roman Wilson is going to Pittsburgh, and they are getting a sudden dominant Senior Bowler. Yeah, Rose Bowler, national champion. Mike Tomlin knows it. He knows it. When he goes to shop in Ann Arbor, he likes what he gets.
Remember when Quinyon Mitchell, when he got drafted, and I said Mike Tomlin went up to Quinyon Mitchell and said, challenge yourself, go up against Roman Wilson every single rep. Not only did Quinion Mitchell step up to the challenge, so did Roman Wilson in those battles. Ultra competitive, strong hands, big-time speed down the field. Used him on a lot of those over routes, those crossing routes. He showed at the Senior Bowl. He's got more to him. He's got more route polish. He showed the ability to run every single route on the route tree. As you see the Pittsburgh Steelers draft room really celebrating this one, they got a playmaker here and a wide receiver room with Deontay Johnson gone that needed an addition.
The misconception is because of their offense and their philosophy and their structure is that, well, their wide receivers weren't that great. No, it's just the philosophy that they chose up front running the football.
With the 85th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Zak Zinter, guard, Michigan.
I mean, now,
Go Browns.
I feel like, am I getting punked? Am I being punked? This guy, I'm going to give you the floor on this guy, Joel, please. Talk about this guy.
Well, Zinter was a born leader, and first of all, he was their best offensive lineman for a number of years, played a ton of football for them, and was their emotional leader as well up front. Very smart player. I'll just take you to the last game that I was fortunate enough to do for Michigan. It was against Ohio State, and Zak Zinter and his team are tied. They're driving. It's a tie ball game. There is so much stress. There's so much emotion. There's so much pressure, and he goes down with a pretty gruesome injury. And I can tell you this, that stadium, although it was dead quiet, you could hear this and sense this building chant. One of the first times I've ever taken my headset off in the booth, sitting there with Gus, and I'm hearing this chant, and the entire 110,000 starts chanting, "Let's go, Zak. Let's go, Zak," because of what he had meant to that program. It was a highly emotional moment. Even the Buckeyes were clapping for him. A couple plays later, Blake Corum goes into the end zone, flashes a 6'5". They take the lead, never relinquish it. And there's Zak on the stage lifting up the national championship trophy. Their emotional leader and a guy that's going to come in, and if he's healthy, DJ, he will contribute in a major way.
Ironically, you're going to see him lined up next to DeWayne Jones. You're going to have Michigan and Ohio State next to each other, two guys who can really move people in the run game. Physical guys.
The Philadelphia Eagles have traded the 86th pick to the San Francisco 49ers. And with the 86th pick, in the 2024 NFL Draft, the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers select Dominick Puni, guard from Kansas. Happy birthday, Tommy Harris.
And thus the Kansas run begins. Puni, very versatile. I'm a big fan of his game. Balance, awareness, poise. Another one, we've mentioned this a bunch. Jim Nagy does a good job at that Senior Bowl. Gets all these guys down there. It's a competitive environment. He's one that helped him there, showing the versatility to play all these different spots. But he's got really strong hands. He plays well in space. He's efficient in all of his change of direction, movement, can get out there. Again, someone who's played left tackle. CD, I believe he's going to be one of those tackles that has a chance to be a starting guard in the NFL.
I think that's where he's headed. That certainly feels like it, and that's what we saw in the versatility of the Senior Bowl, where he took a lot of reps. But he is part of what we're seeing, Joel, of guys coming up levels and playing well. Jared Verse, University of Albany, first-round pick, going to the Minnesota Vikings. This kid played at Central Missouri and then did his thing at Kansas. Lance Leipold has done a fantastic job with that program in the Jayhawks.
With the 87th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Marist Liufau, linebacker, Notre Dame.
Yeah, this is a fun player to study because of how they use him. They'll use him stacked off the ball, then they'll also let him rush off the edge a little bit on third downs. He just flies around. He plays 100 miles an hour at all times, and that is a good thing, but also at times can be a bad thing, which leads to some missed tackles. But you talk about playing with energy and edge and passion. Those are the traits that translate very well to special teams. I saw Drew Tranquill with the Chargers kind of begin his career there and earn more time on the field. Then he gets a chance to go to the Kansas City Chiefs. The door opens for him on defense, and he took it and ran with it. This is a similar type of player out of the same college there at Notre Dame.
I love his energy, CD, and his bloodlines, too. Cousin with Puka Nacua, maybe another steal in the middle of the draft.
I wonder how he covers him, when they have the Turkey Bowl. Back in the day. Did he go out there? Did he press man him? What did he do?
Aggressively.
It had to be aggressive.
Yes.
But this kid is exactly what DJ talked about, being able to stack him, bring him off the edge, plays with a lot of thump, and ran a nice tandem with another linebacker I expect to be drafted before this is over, and J.D. Bertrand at Notre Dame. Pretty good duo.
With the 88th pick in the 2024
MarShawn Lloyd just went off the board. And, you know, we were expecting to see him perhaps even sooner, but he's now going to Green Bay.
Well, I thought he's the best running back in the entire draft. Contact balance, patience, burst. The comparison in terms of the body type and play style remind me of DeAndre Swift. Joel, I believe you called this game against Colorado, watching him reverse field, showing you that vision as well as the burst. He ran 4.46. He can make you miss, and then he's got the ability to create a lot of explosives as well as get involved in the passing game where he shows you he's elusive and slippery with the ball in his hands. He's going to get a chance to go to the Green Bay Packers and pair up with Josh Jacobs. Aaron Jones is no longer there. This is a heck of a replacement. In my opinion, the Green Bay Packers just got the best running back in the NFL draft.
With the 89th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Tykee Smith, defensive back, Georgia.
Yeah, we've seen again some Georgia defensive backs come off the board. It's an annual tradition. I believe he's a day one nickel. You can put him in there and just don't even worry about it. Fluid mover who can play the football. That represented with the 8 career interceptions for this season. Quick feet. He can mirror and match in the slot against those quicker receivers. And then at 202 pounds, he can match up with the bigger slots as well as be a force player against the run. At this point in the draft, when you're picking in the 3rd round at pick number 89 to get a guy who I believe is a plug-and-play starter as a nickel, I love the value there for Jason Light and the Tampa Bay Bucks.
And also the ability to do a number of different things. You always talk about a Kirby Smart defense and a Kirby Smart defender. They're asked to do a lot of things at Georgia. Joel, you watched him over the years.
Yep.
This is exactly what Todd Bowles asked of his defensive players because he's going to bring pressure from everywhere.
Cardinals are about to make their 7th selection of the first 90 picks. And we'll hear who it is and then take a look writ large at what they've done.
With the 90th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Elijah Jones, defensive back, Boston College.
Well, this is, I know they have the dollar store. Apparently we're at the nickel store right now because it's just one nickel after another coming off the board. 5 interceptions last year at Boston College. Really, really quick feet. You'll see that in his pedal. The stop-start quickness is big time. It's impressive. I didn't think he was quite as fluid as some of these other nickel corners that we've seen come off the board. Some of those switch routes, the communication can get a little bit of miss just in terms of being able to be on the same page with the guys in the secondary. But the effort is there. The speed is there. There's a lot to work with here for the Arizona Cardinals and Elijah Jones.
So, by the way, that was a 3rd round selection that they got last year when the Texans moved up to 3 overall to take Will Anderson.
With the 91st pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Tyron Hopper, linebacker, Missouri.
Tyron Hopper, we didn't get a chance to see him work out there at the Combine, but at his pro day, gave us a 4.68 time and jumped pretty well, 36 inches. The production, so-so production here. 55 tackles, 3 sacks, plays off the ball. Best as kind of a downhill plugger. He's only 231 pounds, but he plays heavy-shouldered. He'll take on blocks. He really likes to get in the mix there. He does have some range to chase laterally, some speed there. Instinct-wise, I thought, okay, so-so in that department. I didn't put him in the elite category. I believe he's going to make his bones on special teams. And really in this draft class where we've talked about maybe the depth not being what it's been in years past. We have NIL, we have the COVID year. Finding guys from this point on that can contribute on special teams is going to be paramount.
Remember, Isaiah McDuffie is a backup there, special teams guy. Eric Wilson's been all over the league, special teams guy. They've moved in with Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker are your guys. So they're trying to replenish because Devondre Campbell, a longtime stalwart, no longer there.
I'm wondering if Packers fans are watching this draft and seeing how the Lions faithful is reacting to each one of those picks and putting in the memory banks for when they host the draft next year.
Of course they are.
Catch it.
With the 92nd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jalen McMillan, wide receiver, Washington.
They're on their way to having their whole offense. They're over halfway there, having them all get drafted. That's the 6th offensive Husky we've seen go so far in the first 3 rounds. This is their slot receiver in McMillan. This is a field player. In the slot, you can talk about quickness, but to me, almost as important as the quickness is the feel. Can you work in zones? Can you feel out space? That spatial awareness, he has that. understands how to set up defenders, create those open windows for Penix, tracks the ball really well down the field. They got him a lot of bubbles too, so he could get the ball quickly and run after the catch. They'll even line him up some in the backfield as well. So that was a heck of a trio of receivers they had at Washington, all three of them off the board here through 3 rounds.
And missed some time last year, or else he would have had even more production and kept fighting through it. He had a knee injury, and he kept trying to get back on the field because of the special season that they were having up in Seattle. Fought through it, kept getting on the field, and always produced.
Yeah, Jalen McMillan now with Tampa. Mike Evans re-signed prior to the season. Chris Godwin, as we all know, there with Rachaad White and Baker Mayfield also re-signed prior to this draft.
With the 93rd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Adisa Isaac, linebacker, Penn State.
The Nada sons almost harmonized that.
Well, I know one thing. If I'm Dan Lanning, I've already got 3 scholarship offers to those 3 kids. Those have already been issued right there.
NIL deal's already cut.
No question. Hey, the Ravens go shopping for an edge rusher at Penn State. Have we seen this before? Odafe Oweh?
Shocking.
They go out and get Adisa Isaac, who has a lot of quick wins. You see the frame there, almost 6'5", 247 pounds. They line him up over tight ends a lot, and he just beats them up repeatedly. I love the get off. I love the burst. You've got Chop Robinson on one side. He's on the other side. That ability, CD, to be able to pry a shoulder, talk about power. Do you rush to their chest or do you work half a man? He does a great job working half a man and just prying that shoulder free. But that was quite the duo on the edge with him and Chop Robinson there at Penn State.
Well, the beauty of it was he doesn't mind taking the whole man either. All right, so he'll be able to work half a man, but Joel, you watched. And one of the things people always talked about is you had to go a little bit deeper at Penn State to understand the numbers, because Isaac's numbers were better getting to the quarterback than Chop Robinson's, who had better potential.
That defense wants those hard edges, Rich, and he can provide that.
With the 94th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jalyx Hunt, linebacker, Houston Christian.
This is one for new defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. I was told this is one of his favorite players in the entire draft, someone he really wanted to coach. You talk about upside, a little bit of a project, but there is a lot to work with here when you watch Jalyx Hunt. Big time burst, change of direction, twitch, all that is excellent. Another one in my notes, by the way, another one playing against a lot of civilians, so I don't want to just pick on the Ivy League. He's beat up on a lot of guys. He's not going to see that caliber of player, but you look at how he dominated. You should be able to watch a player that's an NFL player and you put on Houston Christian tape. You shouldn't have to look up his number. You should figure out who it is within 5 snaps, and that's exactly what you did when you put on their tape.
I could talk about mine.
Just go develop.
I didn't have one.
With the 95th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select DeWayne Carter, defensive tackle, Duke.
DeWayne Carter, real powerful, plays with a low center of gravity when you watch him. Quick hands, has a nasty, nifty little spin move that he likes to dust off. That's his go-to. He can also get you with a quick swim move, that quick arm over move. When you're watching defensive linemen, I want to see, guys, can you roll your hips? Do you play kind of stiff hip? Do you play upright, or can you really roll and snap those hips? He does it. I thought Duke this year with Graham Barton on the offensive side of the ball, one of the better guys at that, and on the defensive side of the ball with DeWayne Carter, I'm sure those guys had some great battles there in practice at Duke. But CD, this point in time in the draft, this is a player I believe has got 3-down ability to rush the passer and play on rundowns as well.
And by the way, you want intangibles like crazy? He has them. You saw it up on the screen. 3-time captain. You ask someone at Duke, you know what they're going to tell you? There was one leader on our team. It was DeWayne Carter.
That's right.
This guy's a big-time guy. I love that. And going to Buffalo, that makes a lot of sense for what Sean McDermott wants out of his players, the type of guy he wants to add to his locker room.
And you have a name now associated with the pick Buffalo acquired in the trade with Kansas City last night.
With the 96th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Jarrian Jones, defensive back, Florida State.
Yeah, so they go out and get a corner here in Jarrian Jones. How many nickels have we seen go today? And it just shows you that nickel's a starter in this league. It has been for some time.
We might as well list 12 guys on offense, 12 guys on defense, right, Joel? So you got to list the slot receiver. You got to list the nickel player because they're on the field 70% of the time anyway. And so that's what you're looking for. And remember, Jacksonville Jaguars lost some people in the secondary. Darius Williams ended up going back to the Los Angeles Rams for one. So this is another way to try and fortify what they're trying to do as they try and get back into the action, AFC South.
You think they'll have a little rematch there? Jarrian Jones, Brian Thomas, they get out there for that first mini camp.
Yeah,
I would think so. Off the season.
Absolutely.
Round 2.
I would think so.
Absolutely. And by the way, sympathies to James Littleman Stewart, who just announced that pick. He announced earlier he had lost his sister last night. That's a vol for life. Our hearts go out to him.
But I'll be proud to announce with the 97th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select McKinnley Jackson, nose tackle, Texas A&M.
So the Cincinnati Bengals have got a couple of these now, right? Didn't they end up taking Chris Jenkins earlier?
They did.
They did.
Now they get McKinnley Jackson. This one is more of a comp for Reader. We talked about Reader with when you had the pick of Chris Jenkins. Now this is a 326-pound guy who is going to stack and hold blocks at the point of attack. I don't know how much you're going to get from him, and with pass rush, it's a lot more just kind of push the pocket. But to me, you got somebody that if you want to anchor down against the run, and you're going to be in a division with the Baltimore Ravens who can run it, the Pittsburgh Steelers who've upgraded their offensive line, and we know the Cleveland Browns, what they do up front. This is a space eater for them.
So essentially what we're saying is McKinnley Jackson, because what we saw at the Senior Bowl was he's probably second to T'Vondre Sweat in terms of being that pile driver guy inside. Hold the point of attack. He replaces DJ Reader. Chris Jenkins can go and kind of slot with BJ Hill, a little more of a movement guy.
He can get up the field. He can get up the field a little more.
With the 98th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Payton Wilson, linebacker, NC State.
All right, there you have it.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin got an upfront seat to see him at the Senior Bowl and see how athletic and the speed that was there. You see the comparison there, Kiko Alonso when he was coming out of college. That's who he reminded me of. The eyes are excellent. You think about instincts for off-the-ball linebackers. He can key and fill, and he's a very sure, firm tackler. In coverage, you got to cover to play linebacker in this league. Think about the guy he's going to join in Patrick Queen, how athletic he is. He's going to get a chance to do some of those same things. How about the speed and effort? Look at how fast that is. He ran 4.43, and you see it on the field. Here he is against Drake May, running him down from behind. I mean, we could do a 5-10 minute highlight film. He hit over, 22 miles per hour on this one against Notre Dame. I know Ian talked about the injuries. We've got the injuries, and that's part of the evaluation. But if you're asking me my opinion, you tell me I get 3 years of Payton Wilson. You can have 8 years of somebody else.
With the 99th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Cameron Kinchens, defensive back, Miami.
Yeah, one of the top safeties in this class. Production, 11 picks in just the last 2 years. Jair Brown out of Penn State was the comparison. They ran the identical 40 at the combine, 4.65. He runs 4.55 or lower, you would see him off the board. That was the only knock on him, the only concern. When it comes to safeties, though, if you've got quick eyes, you can make up for a lack of pure speed because you get a jump on the ball, and he sees very clearly. He's quick to trigger downhill. He's excellent as a tackler in the hole. You see him unload right here against Texas A&M, and there's the blitzing from depth, able to get Drake May on the ground. The one negative play he had was in the crazy finish against Georgia Tech. The ball got over his head late in that ball game, but on the whole, this is a very productive, instinctive guy.
I mean, to be fair to him, they shouldn't have been in that
situation. Shouldn't have been in that situation.
Yeah, but one thing, you want a ball hawk in that NFC West, because now you're dealing with, he's going out there to the Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco, and the way they pitch it around, Seattle and all the receivers they throw at you. In NFL football, if you can take away one possession, that can mean the biggest difference in football there, because most games are what in the NFL? One possession games.
He had 11 picks, guys. In the last 25 years, the only Miami players to have 11 double-digit picks, Ed Reed, Sean Taylor.
Pretty good name.
They're pretty good company.
They're pretty good.
With the 100th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver, Rice.
Adam Peters came from the 49ers, Rich. They had a McCaffrey, so he said, hey, I'm going to go to the Commanders. I'll get another one. That worked out pretty well for his previous team. Luke McCaffrey, the converted quarterback, can play inside, can play outside, works well in traffic, and someone who just finds a way to get it done. He finds a way. You saw it in the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl. You see it here on this video. Very strong hands. He's still continuing to grow and develop as a wide receiver. He's new to it, but you can see the athleticism. The fact that if his background as a quarterback helps him in terms of seeing defenses, being able to read coverages, a really, really good player. I will add, Joel, as we look at the McCaffrey family here, as we finish up night number 2, it's nice to be tied with you 3 for second most players drafted on the desk. So I'm just very excited.
Oh, wow. Oh, what a finish.